Welcome back, guys. Doing just kind of a generic update of Prime, of Decatur Dedicated, Tanker, a little bit of a training update in this video, driver advisory board, and a couple of these things go back to the last video and my thoughts in that last video, and just giving you an update of where we're at now. But to start, let's talk about freight. Everybody wants to know, how has freight been affected with the current situation in the world? And I'll just say right now, things are starting to pick up. Typically, the first 3 months of the year are the slowest time for all of Tanker, and then things start to pick up. Obviously, with the way the world is right now, we did not see that in, April, May, and beginning of June. But we are now starting to see it late June into early July. Things are really starting to pick up, so that's good to see. There is a good amount of freight, and that's a good sign. One of the things I've always talked about with food grade tanker, no matter what's happening in the world, people have to eat. Just is what it is. People stop buying other things. Gas was 99 cents there for a while, or just over $1 for a while, because people weren't going anywhere. And I know the people that were in fuel hauling really suffered. But people, even when we were slower, people still buy food because gotta eat. Everybody has to eat. So that's one of the nice things about food grade. I'm not going to call it recession proof, because that's not true. We did slow down a little bit, but people need to eat, and places that manufacture food are always going to, sure, some places will restaurants, we've seen some problems with restaurants and going out of business and whatnot, but people need to eat, and a lot of food places, especially the bigger ones, will stay in business. Did want to touch on driver advisory board. That's something else I talked about in my last video. We were scheduled to have our next DAB meeting the Sunday and Monday after the 4th of July. There was talk at the time of that video that we were going to do that meeting virtually, Zoom, whatnot. Ultimately, the decision was made. We canceled that meeting. We'll have another driver advisory board meeting in late September, early October. I encouraged folks to submit questions and comments last time, and I still encourage you to submit those questions. The point that I was trying to make last time was, hey, we're going to be getting together. We're going to have everybody, if not in the same room, at least accessible. And again, it's drivers, and then it's in-house personnel. It's the heads of all the departments at Prime. So it would be easy to get access to answers to questions that people have. We still can get answers to those sorts of questions. It just might take an email or a phone call or something along those lines. So if you submit those questions to us, either through the Prime app or the DAB website, we can still get the answers to those questions. It seems as though Prime gets a lot of interest in the DAB around our meetings. They'll put photographs up when we're having the meetings, of the meetings happening on social media, and that prompts people to make phone calls. Obviously, in the case that we're at right here, you can just ask the questions, and we'll get the answers as best we can. I think that's just the way it's going to have to be for the time being. The hope is that, obviously, who knows what will happen in the next few months, but the hope is at the end of September, early October, we will be able to get together in person, as opposed to trying to do a virtual meeting at that time. Do want to talk about training, because there has been a slight update to Tanker TNT. This does not affect flatbed, reefer, or anything along those lines. But before I talk about TNT and an update, the miles, I think what you have to do is you have to get your mind around the fact that the miles are a guideline. They are not a finish line. 50,000 miles has been the requirement for about a year and a half. And the literature states at least 50,000, or at 50,000 miles, you will be eligible to upgrade into your own truck. It doesn't say once you reach 50,000 miles you're automatically going to upgrade. There are obviously a number of factors that can play into whether or not you upgrade into your own truck once you hit 50,000 miles. If you've had accidents, if you've had critical events, if your trainer doesn't feel like you've learned what you need to learn to run your own truck, you're not going to upgrade into having your own truck, regardless of if you've got 50,000 miles or 54,000 miles or 70,000 miles. If your trainer doesn't think you know what you're doing, Prime doesn't want you going out and getting into an accident, costing yourself money, maybe losing your life or endangering the lives of someone else out on the road. They want to make sure you know what you're doing and you're going to be safe. So the minimum is the 50,000 miles. What they have updated is tanker. And as I've said on some of these videos, tanker doesn't run as many miles as reefer and flatbed do. That's just the fact of the matter. That's part of the reason that tanker, if you look at the pay scale, tanker pays more per mile on a company driver basis. Our loads tend to pay more for shorter distances. So with that in mind, knowing that 50,000 miles takes a long time to accrue in a tanker truck, and now my personal opinion, there's a lot that you need to learn over reefer, where you're learning messages and how to fuel the reefer and how to operate the reefer, unloading and unloading, you know, the issues that can come about with spills, imploding a tank, hooking up things incorrectly. It's more hands-on, there's more to it. So they have submitted an update where you will be eligible to upgrade once you've reached 35,000 miles instead of 50,000 miles. So going forward, that will be the new requirement for tanker. And again, I submit, don't focus on 35,000. You may still end up running 50,000 miles. You still may end up running 60 or 70,000 miles. If you don't know what you're doing, if you have an accident, if you have whatever. But they're going to start looking at the possibility of upgrades once you reach that 35,000 mile mark. So that's an update on what's going on with tanker and TNT training. And again, if you're new to Prime has 2 phases of training. If you're going to get your CDL, it's called PSD, Prime Student Driver. It's a 2 to 3 to 4 week course where you will be one-on-one. You're basically learning to get the piece of plastic. You're learning to take your pre-trip portion of the CDL test. You're learning to do the backing portion of your CDL test. And you're learning to do the on-the-road portion of your CDL test. You're not learning anything about, if you're in tanker, you're not learning anything about how to operate the pump, unload, load, deal with shippers, deal with tank. None of that is involved in PSD. You are simply learning how to get your CDL. The on-the-job training, the how do you do this job on a daily basis, is TNT. You know how to drive a truck. Now how do you do the job of being a truck driver? That's TNT. And again, I've now modified that to 35,000 miles at minimum for a tank TNT trainee and 50,000 miles for reefer or flatbed. So there you go. Next thing, and it's onto this truck. I've now had this truck for a year. So I'm going to talk about this truck in a minute, but I want to go back a year and a half when I ordered this truck. I got a lot of questions when I showed my new truck. People saying, well, that's not a new truck. That's not a 2020 Freightliner. That's a 2015, 2016, 2017. Freightliner came out with what is called the P4. It's the new body style. If you know Freightliners at all, it's got the grille with the wider spaces in it. Has a slightly redesigned nose, a little more aerodynamic looking. It's a little more modern style. And then the interior is different as well, where it has a new instrument cluster and things along those lines. That's the P4 body style that Freightliner came out with. Prime was hopeful when I ordered this truck a year and a half ago that they would get P4 lightweight trucks by last fall of 2019. So I got this truck in the summer of 2019. They were hopeful a couple of months after I got this truck that P4 lightweight trucks would be available. I'm here to tell you that they finally got P4 lightweight trucks on Prime property a couple of weeks ago. So it took about 9 months longer than they were anticipating. I have been in contact with the head of leasing. It's just a personal interest of mine. I'm not going to order a P4 lightweight truck and replace this one. I just have an interest in, and I know a lot of drivers, because everybody at Decatur has a lightweight truck. Everybody at Bellevue, Ohio has a lightweight truck. I have an interest in those trucks, and I have people that want to know about them, and I've been in contact and finding out why we've not been able to get them. The bottom line was weight. It's a lightweight truck for a reason, because it weighs a certain Prime has a set figure of how much a truck can weigh to be considered a lightweight truck, and when Freightliner introduced what would be considered a lightweight P4 truck, it was above Prime's threshold, and so that's why Prime did not immediately get P4. They were out there. Some other companies would have P4 lightweight trucks, but they did not qualify for what Prime considered a P4 lightweight truck. So it took that extra 9 months, and actually probably less than that when you look at the truck order time. Probably took about 5 or 6 months, because trucks take about 3 to 4 months to order. And then there was this situation where Prime didn't get trucks that had been ordered, so probably was a little less. It was probably about 3 or 4 months longer than they anticipated. But either way, Prime now has P4 lightweight trucks. You can find pictures and video of them. Prime's Weekly, I know I've talked about Prime's Weekly video. Last week's Prime Weekly video, I'm talking about the shops. There is a picture and a video of a P4, and if you ever, I know I've talked about the numbering system on Prime trucks before. The first number is the make, so it's a 6 for a Freightliner. The second year is the number, so mine has a 0, so that's a 2020. The third number, if it's a 9, is a lightweight truck. So all lightweight trucks are, since now we have Freightliners, there's 6 whatever number and then 9. 6, so mine's 609, and that 9 designates it as a lightweight truck. So in the video for last week, the Prime shop video, and I'll throw a link in the description, there is a 619 P4 lightweight truck that's in the background in that video. So those are coming, those are on property, and if you order a new lightweight truck to do Decatur dedicated, you're going to be able to get a P4 lightweight. So I wanted to talk about that. On to the fact that I've had this one for a year now, and I could theoretically do an entire video on that, but I don't really have anything else to say. I think I've said it all in the videos that I've done already. I like the truck. I have, knock on wood, not had much as far as issues with the truck. I had an APU issue, which is, the APU is not a Freightliner component, it's Thermo King. It's a, it's a completely separate aftermarket product. I needed a new alternator, it was covered under warranty. So that's not a big deal. I've had one engine light, check engine light, come on, and the next time the truck regened itself, that check engine light went out. That's it. In a year, my miles per gallon, my fuel mileage has started to go up here in the last probably couple of months, so the engine's probably starting to break in. I'm up over 9 miles per gallon, so I'm happy with it. I don't sleep in the truck very often. I've talked about that before, so the lightweight portion doesn't bother me in general. It does not have the cabinet space that the International had that I had for the previous 4 years, but I don't particularly need it, so it's not a big deal. So that's what I have for you for this particular video. Hope you find all of that interesting. Again, I'll throw that Prime video in the description. As always, I'll throw a email down there if you want to ask me questions and you don't want them in comment form. Or you can put a question directly in the comment. I do my best to answer as many of those as I can. And if you do want to come to Prime, if you're not a current driver, we are hiring still from 47 states. Still not hiring from Florida. Still not hiring from Alaska and Hawaii. If you want to move to one of those states that we are hiring from, you certainly are welcome to do that. But if you do, got a link in the description. You click right on that. It takes you directly to the application. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it so much. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Until next time, be safe. Talk to you later.